The Delaware Chancery Court is appointed to manage most corporate disputes. And that is because the Delaware Chancery Court is a court of equity. Now, this is important. And this is one of the main reasons why Delaware is so attractive, if not the reason why Delaware is so attractive to make your business home. The Delaware Chancery Court is not only one of the greatest courts in the nation, it's one of the oldest. It is over 800 years old, and it has been addressing corporate issues from an equity standpoint, not a law standpoint, which I'll get into in a second, because there is a difference between a court of law and a court of equity, and that is the distinction here. The Chancery Court of Delaware is the court of equity. Delaware is one of the few, very few jurisdictions that still upholds a separation between the court of equity and the court of law. Many other jurisdictions have merged these entities under one court system, where the court of law and equity are handled in the same courts. Now, in Delaware, our superior court, the general court of the state, can hear matters that sound in equity if there is an adjoining issue in the matter that also sounds in the law. But matters of equity alone is under the strict jurisdiction of the Delaware Chancery Court. Now, again, they're over 800 years old. And so they've been hearing these corporate type disputes for maybe, and I don't want to say things that aren't completely true, so I don't want to get too far-fetched and over-exaggerate, but they've been hearing these types of disputes for far longer than the majority of the courts in other jurisdictions, okay? Especially the courts that have merged equity into law. The Delaware Court of Chancery has kept equity separate from law and has been hearing it in this manner for almost the longest period of time. So they have one of the largest volumes of case law that has been adapted from this because of the amount of disputes in this area that they've been able to hear and write doctrine to. So Delaware has the advantage of hearing more disputes and settling more disputes, and has a greater record of siding with the judgment of the directors or owners of the business. Okay, and this is really due to, and I want to get into this principle, but I don't want to jump into it too fast. But Delaware has a doctrine called the business judgment rule, which basically says that the court will not interfere in the dealings of a business, okay, where they believe the directors have taken their actions in good faith, okay? So the onus of responsibility in a conflict between an entity and its shareholders or a dissatisfied client, the onus will be on the party bringing the issue to prove that the owner of the business did not act in good faith. If they can't first establish a great breach, okay, then the court is not going to interfere, even if there was negligence on the part of the company owner, because they're human. And the court believes that they are not the experts in the business matters. They're the experts in the law, right? So they are reluctant. Delaware is reluctant to get involved in business matters and to get involved in contracts, because they want to allow contracts to be independent of the court and allow people to make independent agreements with each other. But see, what that now does is leave the onus of responsibility on the parties to the contract to do their due diligence to assure that there are agreeable terms. You can't expect, not in Delaware, to get into a bad contract and think that the court is supposed to fix it for you. You have to take the onus of responsibility to do the due diligence to assure the terms of the contract are favorable for you before signing the dotted line. Now, of course, there are always exceptions, and there are always rules, and guards to protect you in the event of fraud, mistake, inevitable events that prevent you from acting, things like that. But when it comes to business entities outside of the guise of contracts right now, it's handled similarly. Equity refers to fairness. Okay? So there is no specific law that was broken in a matter that falls under equity. There's a dispute between the parties because of the terms of their agreement that one believes was breached. And so you come into the court of equity to settle those forms of disputes. And in the state of Delaware, they give major deference to the business owner. Okay? So for me, especially when you're talking about big business, okay, that's the major attraction to Delaware. On the other side of that, let's be clear, there is nothing small about small businesses. If anything, small businesses are the biggest deal in this nation. Small businesses make up 99% of the businesses in this country and is the backbone of this entire nation. So small business is a big deal, okay? And Delaware is the second smallest state in the country, yet and still they are one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in the business world.